comes into existence, independence of other things. Therefore, it cannot exist independently.
No, I don't think that's too simplistic. I think that's really helpful.
It's helpful to me.
No, it's helpful to me too.
Oops.
Because yeah, you need to find those ways that help your mind to remember.
Yes.
Yes.
And that works for you.
Yeah, yes. Because Graham's lovely bookmark wrote really good sort of reminder. Yeah.
And I just want to show you this verse last night after that storm. But hang on. Gary reckons it's a great
I would trust Gary's judgment. That is bravo. Thank you so much for sharing that. She might just be in the kitchenette there.
Yeah, I'll show you when she comes back.
Are you there, Gompo? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
There you are. Hi, it's Leonie here. I just want to check, Gompo. Hi. What can you see on Zoom when, are you seeing just you or are you seeing everybody?
I can see everybody.
So are you the bigger screen or the smaller screen, on a smaller screen?
You're the big screen.
Oh, okay. For some reason, you're coming up on our big screen, and that's why I'm trying to work out what I'm doing wrong. And I changed to speaker, and then you come up instead of us.
That's because I'm speaking.
Yeah, no, but even before when you weren't, you were up, and that's why I was asking you, because I couldn't seem to get you off and put us on. Is it the last person who's spoken?
I think so. If you hover the mouse over your image,
yeah,
and you right click,
yeah,
it should have something like pin video.
Well, hold on,
Can you see that?
So I've got a new computer. Pin video, yes.
If you pin the video, that should be the main video the whole time.
Make you the main video.
No, whichever video you pin.
Okay.
Should be the one that stays on the screen the whole time.
Perfect. See, I didn't know that. And so I had a bit of trouble last time because I couldn't get Kate off YouTube. So I private messaged her and let her know. But it seemed to be on Zoom, it was just us as the main, but on YouTube, it was her and us. And I wanted her to know that because she was like, really, anyway, this is fine because now I've got us back on and you're small again. So pin video. See, I didn't know that. And I knew you would know.
I'll go and have a look. I'll bring up the YouTube so I can see that one as well.
Yeah.
So you're on YouTube, and that's the only thing showing on YouTube at the moment.
Good, and that's all it should be. It's just that for some reason it was a split screen with us and Kate, and I couldn't work out how to take her off, except with her closing her video, which I asked her to do because I didn't want her to be. I didn't want it to be like, she was half the screen on the video, and I didn't think that was fair for her, which then she didn't, and then we just got us. So I don't know why that happened, other than the fact she had her video on, but it doesn't, anyway, I don't know what happened. I'm learning, I truly am, and I have no idea what I'm doing sometimes, but I thought you would be able to help. And pin video, had no idea it even existed, so now I've learned that.
Hopefully it's working because I'm watching the YouTube. My face is flashing up on the YouTube screen, and that's a bit freaky.
Okay, let me, because I had YouTube here as well, and I've lost where I don't know, it'll be here.
On the YouTube, Wang Mo has just walked behind you.
She did.
And just put the tea down and walked away. That's on YouTube, not on the Zoom. Zoom's different.
Okay, so.
It's not easy.
I'm wondering whether, oh, okay, there's YouTube. Oh, no, oh, no, now you're on there. Okay. Oh, because you're talking.
all the time for the people that we see it.
There's bound to be some setting that only lets you stay on there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know what it is. So we'll have to investigate that. It's probably not a problem. Well, it sort of is in some ways. So
It's short, but it's
I'm
very
going to open this
concise.
up a bit more. All right. Okay. Yeah, I don't know whether I should look at it now. I don't know how to fix it. That's the thing. I could look at it, but I'll just be in the way while we do the class. So what can you see on YouTube now? Can you see us?
You there, and then I flash on occasionally when I speak, I think.
I think that's the thing, because you become the speaker. So when you're muted, we should just be the one anyway. And now that I've pinned us, that might work better like that anyway. We'll see how it goes. Otherwise, the whole world will just see Gompa, which is perfectly wonderful. All right. Thank you. I'll just mute us for now.
Hello, welcome back. Welcome back in the Gompa, welcome back online. Hope you had a good lunch. Omahong, omahong, omahong. There seems to be a bottomless pot of tea happening. Thanks, Venerable. So a couple of little announcements, and then we'll have some discussion time and go on from there. So at lunchtime, Venerable Wangmo, Venerable Yangshin, and Eva and myself were discussing December. We're already getting excited about the end of the course. Even though there's another module to go, I can still say that because there's only one more face-to-face module. Or face-to-face isn't so meaningful these days either, is it? Face-to-face on Zoom, face-to-face in the Gompa. So like this, teaching modules. study modules. So, so the next module after this, of course, we've got the next month, was it September 1920? Anyway, that weekend on meditations around all this and so forth, the retreat weekend, and then Intro to Tantra, and then the December one. So we haven't yet put it on the calendar. I think we had some little bit of discussion previously about this, trying to get people's ideas. And we talked about having just one day in December, mainly so we can celebrate. I mean, truth is, because it's the end of the course. So I guess for myself, it's quite significant because it's the end of the first time me at Chenrezig teaching Discovering Buddhism. And so I feel like you're my peeps, you know? I feel part of the cohort, and we were just discussing over lunch how over a period of like 2.5 years now, well, it will be 2.5 years, that you do see the I mean, everyone hasn't been here for all that time, but you can see transformations happening, and it's very, oh, look, everyone's looking at Graham right now. But excuse me, Venables, and Venerable Gompo as well. A few more transformations, quite radical. Yeah, he's there. Gompo's online, yeah. So, you know, we get to know each other a little bit more. And even for those who've joined us more recently, I hope that you feel, because that's the intention, sort of welcomed into the family and the cohort and the Dharma jewels and all the different labels, merely label that we have. So anyway, so the plan for that time, and then I just want to throw it open a bit, but the plan is that there is another module 14, but it's not a face-to-face. It's called special integration, where you integrate everything you've learned into the practice. Easy peasy. No, I'm joking about easy peasy. So I know that some of you have been working on that very diligently. So as we've been going along, it's been, you know, doing the assessments and reflections and, you know, for each of the modules, doing all the readings, attending the course and doing the meditation retreat weekends. And a lot of you have participated in a lot of that. And then on top, there are the practices of doing a Lam Rim retreat, which we were just with the programming committee discussing the other day, that somehow by hook or by crook, we want to be able to offer that in January. It is quite a tradition here, quite a very long tradition. I think the first time I came to that retreat and was already well established was 2007. No, 2006 I was in India. So, I mean, 2006 I was in India, 2007. I think that was the first time I came. Sally, have you been coming to those before then?
Yes.
From when?
The first one, 2000.
Sally came first time 2000. Anybody else? Any advance on 2000?
I was 2004, 2005.
2004, 2005. Yeah, so it's rather an institution at this place. So we don't want to, you know, nip it in the bud. It's just, you know, there's a few logistics around accommodation and cafe and things like that, that hopefully by that time will have all been resolved. Who knows? And so we're working towards that. So that's one of them. And then there's the practice of Vajrasattva, which we had planned to do a 3-month Vajrasattva retreat here again next year, September, October, November. Again, we see what's happening in the world at that point in time. Yes, lots of practices meantime. It sort of gets us propelled into those prayer-a-thons. And then also, yeah, so basically what I'll be doing is on that morning going through the practices and how one might achieve it. Oh, well, that day, whenever we decide that is, so that day. And then we'll have to have a celebratory lunch. I even mentioned the word graduation, and I thought there is a technicality with graduation, but I think we can graduate as a group. Something we can do some, you know, transition, whatever. We'll label it something. And so we'd like to ask Geshe-la to join us. So I think we might have to write a special request to Geshe-la and see if he would join us for that time, for that celebration. And then also we thought to also make a day of it and have a film together. So one suggestion is Dalai Lama Renaissance, because I keep mentioning it and I'm in a, sorry.
It's very inspiring.
But, you know, a Dharma film, I'm talking.
Yes, you do mention the odd other film as well.
Well, do I? Yeah, okay. I do, radio. Yeah. So, yeah, so like that. So then the weekend that we're looking at. So first of all, I think last time we said, let's just have one day rather than a whole weekend. If people want a whole weekend, believe me, I can fill a weekend. I'll get you prostrated. Teach all the different mantras, teach all the different practices. Yeah, we could. In fact, at Vajrayana Institute, I think a few times, because it depended where the modules ended, you know, to get to the end of the year, because you don't want to start a new round, you know, at this time of year. It sort of doesn't work for people. You know, we actually did quite a few of the preparatory practice, which included things not for DB, but like mandala offerings and other practices and so forth, which I know that we did a sort of taster of. Anyway, so the thing is that weekend, so looking at the 12th of December is the Saturday. And so that is also the first day of the school holidays. So this is context. So the options, Saturday or Sunday, or Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning. I thought that might be the least option, because then other people who might come for the day would then have to stay overnight if you're coming anyway. And I know some of you have already booked accommodation. So we don't have to decide now, but maybe if we get some indication, maybe people let Eva know. Eva will send out an email and let her know if you'd prefer the Saturday or the Sunday or whatever other combination, the whole weekend. I'm not going anywhere. I've got nothing else to do.
We could always book into the prayer-a-thon for an hour or two on Saturday morning.
Yeah, I mean, and of course we always have the prayer-a-thon here on the Saturday, which now is being broadcast from the office because it's better internet connection. So as we've discovered, we're getting through this weekend with, we've got a dongle at the moment? No, we're okay at the moment because there's no prayer-a-thon going on. Anyway, so it's amazing what we can do in our little neck of the woods for worldwide internet.
And the office is empty now too. So
and the office is empty. But I have to say there's a very nice manjushri and offering of flowers from manjushri down on the desk when I was just down there. So that was very nice. I'm so, oh, sweet, we might just leave it there. Yeah. All right, so that's the point of discussion, and of course we got carried away with the other points of discussion, which always become major when you're having any sort of celebration, which was food and location. So, you know, multiple options for locations on the property, depends on if it's fine weather, which hopefully it will be, and so forth, outdoor locations, and then if indoor locations. So we can endlessly discuss that over the time. The main thing is getting the date so we can post that, getting that one confirmed, and then the food, we can also talk about that because, you know, we love talking about that, don't we? Yeah, right, okay. Leonie.
I was going to say, maybe if people can't stay the night but they want to come and do the main sort of DB stuff on one day, and then the extra curriculum stuff on the other, and that way people can opt to stay, and those that can't stay are missing out on the actual DB. It's not that the other stuff isn't important, but they will not be able to stay over.
Yeah, some people may not be able to stay over.
Put that stuff on one with the Saturday or the Sunday.
Yeah, so whether Saturday, Sunday, probably it comes down to, I think. I mean, I think people would prefer to do one day or the other day, right? And if you want to stay longer, Rachel can recommend it. Just hang in there. Just come and stay. And having said that, because I think that enabled a few more people to stay this time, but there's more accommodation got opened up, you know, this time. So I think that hopefully that has helped people. Well, there are people here who've stayed. So so they've opened up more accommodation, and we'll just see what's going to happen with the cafe as well. There's a few months of that ahead. So if you just let Eva know your preference, and then we can deal with that. Now, was there something else I have to announce? No. Oh yes, Karen, do you want to pass on Karen's message? Come up here. Because I don't think Karen's online, right? She's working. She's working. Yeah, she's been watching it all. Excuse me.
I'll just, yeah, just Karen will, oh, here, all right. Karen would like to say hi to everyone. She has been following every beat of the course. Yeah, so that's it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva.
Is that Karen Myers?
Yes,
Yeah,
Karen's
that's
been
right, yes.
working or
Yeah.
been, yeah, so she has to follow on the YouTube afterwards. I think she sent me an email about, she sent me an email about it because I think the problem that we had was with yesterday, that hopefully all the recordings are there and Margot's able to put it, well, subsequently put it on YouTube from yesterday in whatever format, or make it somehow available to those who missed out. They're in the cloud somewhere. Empty of inherent existence at the moment. Very empty, dependent arising. All right. So that's all the announcements from this end, I think. And so, all right then, discussion. We've got some time for discussion. So Kate, I can give you Eva, Kate's right email. And Kate, did you get you got the, yes, you did, because you said thank you. The correct email. She said she hasn't been getting anything from you. All right. Let's come in and what do I do? Okay, so any questions arising? As Lama Lundrup said, if not, I've got a few. Where do we start? Would you like to start?
Oh, well, I just wrote down something. I don't know if it's, I've got to find it again. It might just be rubbish.
All right, you're going to pass that on? Yeah, go ahead.
I can't remember the context of it. Come back.
Come back. All right. All right, so I do some prompt questions then. What is emptiness? Just, you know, go for it.
Emptiness of inherent existence.
What is emptiness of inherent existence? Something doesn't exist.
Independently from.
Something doesn't exist independently from its own side.
Doesn't exist the way you think it exists.
Things don't exist the way you think they exist. That's the wisdom. So the wisdom realizing that realizes, correct? Yeah.
It's got two types. Emptiness.
Two types of emptiness.
No, it doesn't have two types of emptiness.
Sorry, what are you saying?
I don't know what I'm saying.
I thought you said it's got two
I
types.
thought there was two types. No, there's two truths.
There's two truths. Okay, so what are the two truths? Anybody?
Conventional.
So what's conventional truth?
That things do physically exist.
Establishing that things do exist. And so how do we establish that things exist? They have a base, they have a function, they have a form and function. Yeah.
And that's conventionally agreed upon.
It's conventionally agreed upon by a bunch of crazies. Valid cognition. I mean, I was given a hint, folks. All right. I mean, I didn't mean you're all a bunch of crazies or the world's a bunch of crazy. I mean, it's got to be a valid cognition. And as we said, accepted, conventionally accepted in the world,
Culturally, valid cognition that is depending on.
and not contradicted by the ultimate.
Yeah.
which means what? It's not contradicted by a consciousness focusing on the ultimate nature of things, which is the emptiness of things, emptiness of inherent existence, what we said just before. Okay. All right. So anything else about what emptiness is?
The handout says emptiness is simply the absence of such an independent self.
There's, would you like to say again?
Emptiness
It's simply
the absence of
such an independent self.
which has never existed in the first place.
Yeah, there's yeah. So emptiness of is simply or merely the mere absence of that independent self, which never existed in the first place. Right. So it's important to say it never existed in the first place, because it's not nihilism. It's not annihilating a self that existed, nor is it nihilism saying I don't exist. But the imputation or the conceptualization of an independent self is misconception, is a wrong view. It's wrong.
So recognizing.
Recognizing that, you would be recognizing the emptiness of that. Graham. Graham.
The piece that I gave you, did you agree with that? Emptiness is a mode of perception, a way of looking at experience.
A mode of perception, a way of looking at experience. Yes, but we have many modes of expression. So this is where we have to get precise about what our mode of
Presuppositions we usually
empty of the presuppositions we usually have.
Add to experience in order to make sense of it.
Can you say again?
Sorry. This mode is called emptiness because it is empty of the presuppositions we usually add to experience in order to make sense of it.
So it's empty of the presuppositions
It's
that,
called emptiness.
that we add to existence in order to make sense of it by our deluded mind, for example.
No conceptual elaboration.
No conceptual elaboration.
Yeah, the stories in the world views.
The stories of the world's views, concepts, opinions, tenets, belief systems, philosophies.
Pushing to beyond it.
Okay. Tick. What is ignorance?
Lack of wisdom.
A lack of wisdom. A lack of what wisdom?
Wisdom realizing inherent existence.
Emptiness of inherent. I know we have to, because this is how clarity comes. We refine. I mean, when you study like basic program and master's program, you spend all this time on definitions and then the etymology of the words, and it comes down to syllables, and you think, okay, can we move on? But it's so that we get very, very clear, like you would be doing a PhD, get very clear. This is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that, right? So do you want to say again?
What was the question?
What is ignorance?
Ignorance. Ignorance is the lack of wisdom realizing their inherent existence, emptiness of inherent existence.
Say again.
It's the lack of wisdom.
Ignorance is the lack of wisdom that realizes the emptiness of inherent existence. That's very nice. So the lack of wisdom, well, wisdom, rigpa. And so it's the direct opposite, ma rigpa, which is the direct opposite, is ignorance. Ignorance is ma rigpa, and rigpa is the wisdom we're talking about.
Or can you say you understand something wrongly?
Ignorance, you understand something wrongly.
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. It does exist. It does exist, but it doesn't exist the way it appears, Sally, to exist. Kendall says,
Misknowing reality.
Misknowing reality. Good on you, Kendall. She's great. It's so nice, isn't it? I know, misknowing.
I think there was one example asked us to watch.
Yes.
And it says like, people thought, misunderstand that in Israel there were 10 billion people, and they believe in that. They believe there are 10 billion people, for example, in Australia. They believe in something.
Yes. So you believe in something which can be contradicted by valid cognition, we could say. So a belief in something that could be contradicted by valid cognition. It is not that.
It is not, when I asked you how many people are there in Australia, your answer can be, I don't know. This I don't know is not ignorance.
Yes.
But if you say there are 10 billion people in Australia and you believe in it, that is ignorance.
Okay. So making the distinction that if I ask you how many people live in Australia and you say, I don't know, that's not this ignorance. It is an ignorance. It's not a confusion. It's just a not knowing how many people live in Australia. In fact, do we know how many people live in Australia? 24,000 or no? Million. A lot. 30 million.
26.
Huh?
26.
Okay, somewhere around there. Anyway, so, but if you say, so if someone in Israel being asked this question says 10 billion people live in Australia and they believe it, then it's actually the belief and the holding on to that belief, which is the confusion, the ignorance, the misconception. So
check for themselves.
yeah.
They believe something else that somebody's told them, and not checking themselves.
I'm sort of glad 10 billion people don't live in Australia. Although we have a big country. Yes. The I is not ignorance. No.
Self-grasping.
No. The I is not ignorance. The ignorance grasps at an inherently existent I. So it's the state of confusion or misapprehension, grasping at an independent, inherently existent I, as it grasps at many other things. So
If you recognize that the I is co-created or dependent, then and you see it correctly.
if you see that correctly, that the I exists, not inherently, not truly, not from its own side, and so forth, but as a dependent arising, then you have Rigpa. So that would be in conceptual realization, you use analysis to do that. All right. Anybody else?
Yes.
Sally.
Talking about dependent arising, I don't know if you think this is too simplistic. How I remember it is the connection between emptiness and dependent arising.
Yes.
I start with because things arise independence on other things, they cannot exist independently.
Because things arise independence on other things, they cannot exist independently. Very good.
How I remember.
Yes. Yes, that's a very clear point of analysis. Very good. Anybody else want to add anything there? Okay, that's 2 out of 8 questions. More to come. More to be revealed.
Venerable Chucky.
Yes, Sarah.
May I just ask a little bit of clarification on the definition of the word mere? Like I see that there's a lot of emphasis on the mere designation or
Mere designation.
Yeah, that one.
So mere means only.
Yeah, okay.
So only by way of designation, merely by name. So it's like there's no, I think about it, what helps my mind is there's no substance to it. It's the mere label, right? It's just a label. It's only a label. Only that. So we get that, we hold things a lot more lightly. It's merely labeled that. The mind, we say, merely imputes, merely labels, merely designates, merely names. So it's just that, only that.
It's just to try to emphasize that
Other
it's,
than that, only that and other than that.
yeah, it's like making emphasis is only simply
yeah.
by that.
Just
Mhm.
the mere label.
Mhm. Thank you.
It's subtle. That's the extremely subtle, only held by the middle way consequence school, that there's nothing existing by way of it from its own side, merely imputed, merely by thought. And that's why we use these analogies, like an illusion, like a dream, like the moon's image on a still lake. These things don't have substance, do they? So it's trying to get at that mere, only that. It's a lot of, is your hand up or no? Okay. All right. Lots of food for thought.
I was looking at the note like this, but I wasn't staring. I was just thinking. I said, "What have I done?"
They're imputing all sorts of things on the looks.
I was just like trying to process this.
I'm not looking at you, I'm processing. Yeah. Okay. We've cleared that one out. So I said that we wouldn't go through this analysis of the 6 elements because that in fact will be a subject of investigation further and more elaborately in our meditations weekend. But I just want to come towards the end of that page, which is the second page for session 4, the consciousness element.
Is this the missing page?
No, it's before the missing page.
Oh,
It's before the elusive 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Consciousness element, the river of consciousness that flows through the different moments of our life, is composed of moments of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. It contains memories, fantasies, inner commentaries, the whole range of feelings, emotions, the whole range of mental factors, experiences. In fact, everything that we experience is experienced by the mind. Our experiences are imputed by the mind.
Can I ask if anybody else is missing that page? Because I am.
It's
Analysis of the 6 elements.
it's top of the page says analysis of the 6 elements. It was a page. So we have wisdom of emptiness 4. Yeah. Okay. Second last paragraph. Second last main paragraph. So all the stuff of the mind. Aren't these, this is a question, aren't these inner experiences also dependent on something outside of me? All my inner experiences, aren't they also, this is a question of interrogation. What do you think? Are these inner experiences also dependent on something outside of me?
The inner experiences is talking about experiences of mind.
Experiences of mind,
Yes.
seeing, hearing. And so when we say of consciousness, so it can be sensory consciousness or mental consciousness. So hence we have seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and then the thinking, which can be all the images or the projections of the mind, all our belief systems, all our memories, fantasies, all our blah, 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 inner commentaries, all our feelings, all our emotions, all the mental factors, all our experiences of everything. Aren't they also dependent on something outside of ourselves?
What if we've got a sore knee?
I've got a sore knee, and
That's not coming from something outside of me, like it's part of my body.
that's coming, yes.
So that's counted as something that's...
So it's coming from something, you could say, outside of the mind,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Is it? It's coming from the knee. It's coming from physical matter.
Yes, it's coming from a grating of a bone on a
From the
nerve.
grating of a bone on a nerve.
So that's outside of the mind.
That's outside of the mind. Is it purely coming from that? Grating?
It sends a little electrical message up.
It sends an electrical message to the brain.
And your brain says.
And the brain
depending on
says.
what that is, your brain then either says that's.
Brain says
pleasurable,
out.
Or it says it's painful.
It's painful.
No matter, whatever the. And in this case, it says the brain. It registers in a pain part of your brain.
It registers in the pain part of your brain, which they've identified. Pain centers in the brain.
But what I try to do is when it registers in my brain as pain, with my mind, I try to overlay it, ice cream.
So Venerable Wangmo puts ice cream on the pain in her mind. In her mind. Does it work?
Yes. Well, as long as it's not too, like for minor.
Minor pain.
And not more like that low-level chronic pain. Okay. It's just an electrical sensation in my
It's just
brain.
an electrical sensation in the brain.
It could just as well be eating ice cream.
And it could just as well be eating ice cream. Okay.
Think of eating.
However, like pain has to do a lot with the mind.
Yes.
So the type of status you are in your mind will determine how much you will experience the pain.
Correct.
And sometimes pain just goes away.
Sometimes pain just goes away, Ingrid's saying. So yes, there is indeed a physical sensation of pain that registers in the brain, in the pain center. On top of that, the dependent arising of the mind, elaborating on the pain that is there, the pain that isn't there.
And there is a theory, if you want to get rid of some pain in your body,
yes,
inflict an even greater pain somewhere else, and the first one will go away, and there's something to it.
I can prove that.
Yes.
I can prove that, Ingrid. So Ingrid said, there is a theory that if you want to get rid of a pain somewhere in your body, inflict a greater pain somewhere else. This was not intentional, but experience tells me this is true. So I was experiencing hip pain until I fell over, and the knee pain took over and the hip pain disappeared. I mean, I was like, the hip doesn't hurt at all. I was quite amazed by that, right? I was just like, because they say, is your hip all right? No, my hip's fine, it's the knee. But the hip had previously replaced the knee before I fell over. So it's true. I can say, from my experience, I can say that indeed happens, right?
So you've had a hip replacement?
No, I haven't had a hip replacement, so nor a knee replacement. And now I'm pain replacement. Oh, I see what you mean. Relocation of pain. No, I'm scared of going to the doctor tomorrow and she'll say you need both now. Anyway, I'm putting that out of my mind. Okay, so the point is that pain, there is a physical element that's outside of the mind, but also the mental element of that. So it is a dependent arising. Pain is not just existing. I mean, I don't know how it is that people go to the dentist and don't have an injection. I know, I just like Sally, oh, you've got to be joking. Now, as kind as my dear Buddhist dentist is, he still drills, right? And as much as I sit there trying to meditate, how hard is it to meditate with a drill going in your head? Like, forget it. Is it?
But some people can do it.
But some people can do it, not this one.
No, I can't.
It's just like, yeah, I'm meditating. Yeah, right.
It's like the other day, he said to me, how are you going? I said, I'm absolutely terrified, but it doesn't hurt, because he was doing something that,
Yeah, so the terrified of the dentist is the mental.
yes.
And the fact that it didn't hurt, because he gave you all the injections to not hurt,
Well, he
or
was doing something that
he was doing something that didn't hurt. Okay, so it's what we're investigating is how these things are dependent arisings. So that's what we're investigating here. How is it that that functions? So
What was the answer? Was it yes?
yes to what? Yes.
Are these
Yes.
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 Summary, yes.
In summary, yes.
Right. I'm still on the train.
Good. Which of these moments is truly me, which is truly mine? So the me and mine, right? The moments of consciousness, which is truly myself. And sometimes I interrogate that too, because, you know, we get told these stories. When you were a baby, and I've got to interrogate that and think, I don't know that I have a conscious awareness of that experience as a baby, but I've been told it so many times, I believe it, right? So this becomes then a belief rather than an actual experience. So we can say, none of this is truly mine, none of this is truly me, because ultimately, we do not exist at all, not nihilistic, we do exist, but not as we perceive. We don't possess anything at all. And even conventionally, conventionally probably they say you do possess, but why people go and buy a planet they can never visit, I'm not sure. I mean, it's absurd. You can buy a star. It's already dead. You just paid for a dead star. Because, why? Because the merely labelled is so important, you put your name on it.
Yes.
You can't even get there and put a flag on it. My flag. I mean, aren't we crazy? It's absurd. I don't know if they're still selling stars, but they were, and people were buying them.
Well, they were selling naming rights.
Naming rights to stars. Who thinks up these ideas? Capitalists.
It don't worry me as much as the people who buy.
Yeah, it worries me, the people who buy. I'm with you on that. Okay. So, we wonder, what does a dependent, contingent, connected self really mean? What is that? What does it mean? I am dependent arising. I'm interdependent.
That's where my little comment that I think I wrote down before. Oh, well, the reverse of that. That is, it's different from me, but not separate from me. So we're like another person. You're different.
I'm different from you.
Me,
yes.
But just at the moment, you're not separate.
But I'm not separate.
In the sense that we've got the student-teacher relationship or whatever.
There's a relationship.
Yes.
This just comes up in relational physics, you know, now they're doing relational physics. They're proving this. And that interaction has an impact. And now I look at Graham to help me out, has an impact in energy or the actual molecular structures. It has or probably a more subtle level than that even, the actual interaction.
At a gross level, you can feel that. An angry person walks in the room.
Oh, that you can feel at a very manifest level of anger, yes. You can feel the vibe. You know, you can feel the effects on the environment. Eva.
I'm breathing in the carbon dioxide.
Breathing in the carbon dioxide, yep.
And being my mother many times.
And being your mother many times. Sister many times. So we've got connections. We've got connections now of the air, and thus have we heard of a connection from past lives and future lives, which might be next year when people are saying they're going to sign up again. So it may not be so distant future. They're saying, Stacey was like, I think I better start again next year. Excellent. Discovering Buddhism. It's nice. Have continuity. Rachel.
I think what springs to mind at the moment is, what does it mean? It means to be really important to be wise and kind.
It means, conclusion, it's very important to be wise and kind. And I find it very useful in thinking in relation to this, that how I you know, you could, like somebody who you think you'll never see again, and you could be incredibly rude to them, and then you encounter them again, and to always think, but this is happening all the time, lifetime to lifetime anyway, so be careful. You know, to always be careful in that relationship, in our relationships, to always, as you say, be kind, be wise. Now, this is a tall order, but it's what we aspire to. And if what we aspire to is Buddhahood, and we hear, well, this is what the Buddha did, and this is what all those bodhisattvas do, and this is what Dalai Lamas do, and if I want to get there, I've got to do what they did, then that itself is a dependent arising as well, right? So there's so many layers and layers and layers and layers of confluence here, isn't there?
And COVID,
And COVID.
And COVID's creating the conditions upon which, even if you've never contemplated this, it's immediately obvious, isn't it, that we're dependent, contingent, and connected.
COVID really tells it to us straight. We are very connected. And it's such a hidden phenomena. And then you can say, well, there's so many hidden phenomena. And believe me, I believe the medics. You know, I watch the news updates and they find something else out and I go, whoa. Because now they're saying, you know, it's not droplets, it's airborne, aerosol, stays in the air longer, travels, you know, whatever.
Frozen food now, they're saying.
Frozen
packaging.
Oh, frozen packaging.
With the factories that say.
Oh, that's how that one they didn't know where it came into New Zealand.
Well, the food, the virus is in the food. No,
Someone here touched it or breathed on it.
Snap frozen.
and it's staying.
It got snap frozen. It stayed viable in the cold.
Froze the virus in the snap freeze.
So that's another
And then it's
aspect.
defrosted.
We'll find out more in time. Isn't science wonderful, you know? So it's fascinating, isn't it? Don't you think? What do you think?
And we had a conversation with Caroline and Jamaica yesterday about definition of sentient beings because of COVID.
Definition of a sentient being is what? And what did you conclude?
Well, viruses like COVID, they don't have any minds, but they are so intelligent. But how do we know they don't have a mind? They might have kind of mind that's different to our minds. Maybe only Buddha would know. But the current definition of sentient being is we would exclude the bacteria and viruses,
Yes.
right?
We exclude bacteria and viruses and plants. And then people started interrogating plants with the Dalai Lama and he said, well, I don't know 100%. Please don't say plants are sentient beings. I want to keep eating my veggies. You know? So this is the thing, because there's a different, like in plants, I think it's clear. They sensate, like they respond to sun, to cold, to these things, you know, to the elements. They respond to the elements. But, and you can also, do plants mutate, our gardeners? No, we have to mutate them. We make hybrids. They can. So maybe we put them in the category of plants. They can divide. They can, huh?
Well, that's true, they adapt to where they.
I heard that viruses are lazy. Like, they don't want you to die because they want you as a host. So anyway, so we don't 100% know whether they're sentient beings. And you've also got to interrogate, when you go from here down into the earth and they find more and more beings living in more and more layers of the earth, right? They say there are beings on every atom of space and they're finding more and more. And what we don't know is how many of those are sentient. And then, you know, as I was reading in the National Geographic about the, what are they, that live in our pores? The mites that live in our pores? Huh? Yeah. They had a picture of about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 setting up house, you know, and putting their couch in there.
Inside and out. Every time we have a shower, we drown all those beans. Oh.
And are they sentient? I don't know. No, but is that going to help? I don't know. Anyway, this is samsara. Until we're a Buddha, we've just got to do the best. I mean, when we do the, anti-COVID mantras, I sort of, these days now, having read about the mites a couple of weeks ago, now I think you're supposed to blow up your nose, right? I'll blow up my nose and blow it into the pores and everywhere and get the lot of them.
They can't get COVID, can they?
I don't know if they can get COVID or not.
I don't think the scientists would.
Anyway, we do our scientific investigation. So, and the conclusion, a person is not earth, a person is not water, a person is not fire, a person is not wind or air, we say, is not space, nor consciousness, not consciousness, and not all of them together, but what person is there other than this? So that's one of those, what do we say? Like a koan, isn't it? Yeah. That's one meditate on for the rest of your life and you'll get there. Nagarjuna, precious golden. Okay? So not body, not mind, not both body and mind, not other than body and mind.
Just where my little mind goes. Yeah.
That's where we go. That's enough now.
Nap time now.
Isn't nap time now? So now, no, it's elusive 5 time. How are we going? Oh, it's, what time did we start? 1:30. It's not even 1 hour. We keep going. All right. So session 5.
Might be the only person that actually has a physical copy of that.
I got a physical copy. Did people, oh, because I sent it to you electronically. Oh, sorry. I could have made multiple copies, but I didn't. We'll just go through, okay? Reasoning with our delusions. Actually, some of it's picking up on, we got the analogy of the magician. So it's just going more in depth about that analogy of the magician. And somewhere along the line, I've got to do the chariot as well. Got the chariot ready to go over here. Okay. So what we're thinking about is different ways to address these misconceptions, our confused states of mind, to come up. The only way we can address it is the application of logic, and through the application of logic, we develop this wisdom. Because on the basis of anything other than logic, even love, compassion, and so forth, none of these will directly antidote that. So logic is a system that enables us to develop our wisdom that is in sync with reality, right? So that's why particularly in this Tibetan tradition, where we have these, systems of debate, of positing something, and then the other person doesn't knock you down in flames. They interrogate your hypothesis to see any faults in, so you see any faults. So this is applying to ourselves. What are the faults in my logic, my arguments, my perceptions, and so forth? So it's an enabler. Sally.
Could you repeat that first sentence?
Probably not.
Logic is a way.
It's a system for developing, so it's based on rational thought, reasoning, not on our emotional responses thing, not a confused, ignorant state of mind. So it's a very straightforward reasoning, like a scientist will reason, hypothesis, and you prove the hypothesis, and you look at any faults in your argument, and you say, is there any exceptions to this? So we talk about the pervasion. Is this pervasive? Which, this is on YouTube, right? It's the one argument I won with Venerable Rabina. Can you imagine I actually won an argument? I think she got me off lightly, let me off lightly.
Did you say you were debating with Rabina?
Yeah.
In a moment of.
On what subject?
Well, she said, Tony Steele is the director of Vajrayana Institute, and he's been the director of Vajrayana. I mean, she did let me off lightly, I have to say. He's been the director of Vajrayana Institute for a very, very long time. And she said, Tony Steele is Vajrayana Institute. And I said, no, Tony Still is not Vajrayana Institute, because Vajrayana Institute existed before Tony Still and will exist after Tony Still. Although none of us want to think about that, Tony, don't ever think that. Because everyone goes, you know, how would the centre cope without him? He's an amazing director, amazing person, amazing practitioner, incredibly intelligent, and everything, the whole package, you know, very humble as well. I said, well, it doesn't pervade, you know, I use the, but it doesn't pervade. And so I gave my arguments, and she could have, but didn't debate back. Now, debating with Geshe-la, forget it. Have you seen these Geshes debating? Like, you start a debate and it's like, whoa, let's go. In fact, that's how Geshe-la was down in Adelaide. He got ready for the debate. He stood up and he pulled his arm back, he had his mala. I thought he's going to break his mala. Right, ready for debate. And then Geshe Zopa couldn't just be on the sideline. He went, pushed him out of the way and jumped in. And all the Geshes were debating with each other. It wasn't, yeah, until that moment, I have said it's a non-contact sport, but now I've revised that. Because all the Geshes, they just love it because it sharpens your mind. It develops this wisdom. So it's good. It's good to ask questions, to interrogate. We've got to interrogate ourselves, right?
I was just going to say, this is just when you, sorry, when I watched Geshe-la teaching and he asked, do you have any questions? And I'm racking my brain thinking, I do, but I just can't articulate it. But you can see he wants the questions. He wants the questions. He wants the questions. And I feel I let him down by not having. And Geshe-la has said, it's true. Geshe-la, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like we have to come and prepare our questions, because Geshe-la himself said, you know, when he would go to his teacher and his teacher would say, have you got any questions? And he'd say, if he said no, he said, go back and study more. I know, and I sit there and I think, oh, I don't know. Whoa. Yes, in philosophy. But actually, Geshe, so do you want to say more about that, Jemima? She just studied philosophy, very courageous. And our tutor, I can't remember, and he said, you have to have questions each session. Wow, if this is Jemima's philosophy class, the tutor said, if you don't have a question, you have to leave the class and come back, what, with a question? It's ACU. Nuns and brothers in one corner debating ferociously at the students in one corner. Where is this? I want to go. I want to go and debate with them. In Brisbane. Go for it. Philosophy. I can do that without leaving the state. Yes. That sounds exciting, doesn't it? We haven't. In the past, I am told there was debating with the nuns. We're doing debating. But I know when at Vajrayana Institute, when Venerable Fedor was there, and he's like, he wanted to teach debating. And so we're like, right, we'll get a group. And we had the whole program worked out. And 2 people signed up, Tony and me. And so I didn't, because you need more than 2 people. So it didn't happen at that time. And I said, can't you just do like an introduction? He says, you don't do introduction to debating. You debate or you don't. Anyway, so if we do ask Geshe-la, we have to be ready. Not just with the questions, but with the answers, because as Geshe Tenzin's Tempel said, he said, I should be asking, I don't need to know the answers, so don't ask me the questions. I should be asking you the questions. Like, I don't need to know the answers. I know the answers. So that was like, whoa, okay. Can we just move on? Okay, so, right. So we're reasoning with our delusions. We're using reason. To realize the ultimate reality of emptiness or selflessness, we need to question and inquire into our habitual way of perceiving and holding onto our self, objects, events, and so on. That's what we've been doing, right? Questioning that. We aim to overcome our fundamental delusion, which is what? Ignorance, grasping at
a mistaken view of the self. So it's not that the self exists, it's that our view of how it exists is wrong. Things and so forth. This process can be compared to the analogy of the magic show. So back to, we had the example of the magic horse. And so this takes it a little bit further. So yesterday we said, you know, we believe the illusion and we're all wrong. So some in the audience are so taken in by the illusion, they actually believe that it's actually happened, right? Sort of childlike approach. I mean, people used to pay money for this, isn't it? To be duped. Buddha said, you're duping yourself all the time. You don't have to pay money for it. But anyway, we like it. We like to be shown an illusion. It's true. Magic. What's magic? What is magic, actually? Magic is something probably you can't explain how it works.
Sort of like the suspension of disbelief when you're reading a book or watching.
Like the suspension of disbelief when you're reading a book or watching a movie.
Where you actually do, you buy into it.
You buy into it. You buy into it. So they accept the appearance as reality. The rabbit really did come out of that happen. There wasn't any false bottom. Or the coin or whatever. Oh, I had a note appear out of nowhere on the path. Did anybody lose $10? Otherwise, I'm going to put it in the donation box.
Money's dropped out of my pocket this week.
Is it yours?
It was in the canteen, and yes, I'm looking for it before.
Okay, I've got it out there somewhere. Just remind me.
I've offered it to whoever finds it because it's already been offered because I lost it.
No. I thought, well, if there isn't an owner, it'll go in there. I mean, money, sorry, I'm digressing, but money is an interesting phenomenon that we hold a lot of store by, isn't it?
Because it's not anything actually, really.
Because we have physical money, but we also have, I have no idea how these Bitcoins and things work, but they're real, right? I mean, people actually make wealth out of them somehow. I mean, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing, is there?
It's faith in something, isn't it? It's just faith in something.
It's faith in something.
I
mean,
it's in the air.
And then, how much is gold worth these days? Thousands for a little bit of ounce of gold, thousands of. Because we impute some value on it. That is, but then, you know, when I was in the Solomon Islands and found, you know, I'd go for a walk and there'd be strings of necklaces, you know, these shells just everywhere. Now, if I went back in time, maybe, I don't know, a century, 50 years or whatever, that would have been a gold mine.
Yes.
And that was discarded because it was worthless. And in fact, I don't know how the Solomon Island dollar is doing these days, but then as I discovered when I came back to Australia and couldn't cash it in, they just laughed. It's not worth a thing. It was in the Solomon Islands, but not here. So it's one of those things that's just completely. So anyway, back to the magician story. So some people totally believe the story. They get totally caught up in it. Others are impressed by the illusion, cannot figure out how the trick is carried out. And at the back of their mind, there's a certain degree of doubt. They accept the appearance as a reality to a certain degree. So you're sort of hedging your bets. It's like, I don't 100% agree with it, but then I can't prove it wrong. Unable to shake off completely the power of the illusion. Maybe that's us now. We don't believe, or at least our intellect, reasoning says there's no inherently existent self, but I think there is. My inherently existent self, investigating whether my inherently existing self exists, is not letting go anytime soon, you know what I mean? So that's that category. You know, that, I mean, I remember looking at those, you know, contortion things with the, you know, they put it was always a woman in the box and then stick things, swords or things through. And it's just like, be looking at the box and she must be like this and then like this and then like this. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I can see she could have gone around like that. Squish. I mean, maybe she's run off out the back somewhere. Oh no, she's still got her head sticking out and still attached to her body. You can see what I did in magic shows. I mean, a lot of people do that. You try and work out how it works, but you still think, no, you still can't quite get it, right? The assistant among the audience who has seen the same illusion performed night after night after night, okay, you've seen the trick, will still see the trick as it's supposed to be, but not believe it. Because if you're assistant, usually you know how it works anyway. You know the trick works, but you don't believe the illusion. Because you know for sure that what appears to be is not reality. So here you're getting closer to the truth. The magician would carry out the steps to create the illusion without actually seeing the appearance of the illusion, because they know there's no illusion anywhere, and knowing full well the actual reality, right? So these are steps. These are steps in our understanding. So this process that we go through of realizing emptiness compared to these four people, you're either completely taken in by the illusion. So maybe you'd say prior to encountering the Dharma, this was all of us, right? Totally taken in by the illusion. Next step, you start interrogating and you start to generate some doubt. So you're making progress, right? And then the third step, you realize it's false. Even it's still appearing, you realize it's false. And then the fourth step, and we said this is actually way up there on the 7th, 8th, 9th ground bodhisattva, just some perspective, is that you just dissolve all the false appearances and the grasping at false appearances. So this analogy is used to see this is how you progress in your refining your understanding of the lack of inherent existence. In other words, dispelling the illusion the mind's created. Is that a helpful analogy? How does that help? Is that a helpful analogy to you? I mean, whenever they use this analogy about the horse, and they say the horse is not real, it's an illusory horse. I go, no, it's not. It's actually a real horse. The illusion isn't the horse. The illusion is that they make you think the horse appeared out of nowhere. That's the illusion, right? But anyway, it's always said in the text, an illusory horse. And I go, no, it's not an illusory horse. It's a real horse. They had to feed it. And it pooped on the ground. I mean, that happened in the, Roy and HG during the Olympic Games. Remember they used to bring a horse in? I think I've lost the bull and the goat. No, the bull, you eliminate, anyway, whatever. Okay, so this is the process. Along the way, we get caught in certain pitfalls, falling into the extreme of permanence when we hold on to some illusions. We just don't want to let go of them. Chocolate. The answer to everything. Coffee. Tea. Now we're talking. Tea. I know it's not the answer to everything, but boy, it's a good substitute. That feels better. You can see I've got Britain going through my veins. Because apparently British. Who's of a British background here? There must be a few of us, not just me. Tea drinkers, right? I'm very grateful to my British ancestors. Oh dear. Okay. So some things we find hard to let go of. Or the extreme of annihilation or nihilism, or there's another term that I'll do, when we hold that nothing exists or nothing really matters. So this is the most extreme, dangerous one, the two extremes, right? Nothing matters. But when we come close to or gain the actual realization, the actual realization of everything being dependently arisen, nothing being inherently existing from our own side, when you have that actual realization, whether that's one moment of conception or, you know, a direct perceptual realization, there will be a strong emotional response. So you could feel tremendous joy because it's a state of bliss. We talk about the bliss of emptiness, right? It's a bliss because it's so much freedom that you can let go of so much rubbish. That life, everything just becomes so simple, so clear, so evident that it's bliss, right? You got to nod because what do we know? I mean, what do I know? But, you know, this is what they say, right? And it's joyful. But think about when you've had a joyful experience and it's been related to relinquishing something. The cup, relinquishing the cup, relinquishing the attachment to my favorite, right? Was there a sense of liberation, joy, freedom? Anything like that?
Not so much with that, but with bigger things.
With bigger things.
Because that was just a cup.
It was just a cup.
Go
So
out
you
and buy
don't.
another one. The things that you can't just go out and buy another one, if you can relinquish them, there's a big sense of freedom, of letting go. Sorry?
I missed the last bit because I was distracted by Kate's very depressing comment here, which I will share with you. Mites are a arachnid family, definitely sentient. Oh, yeah, nice home, nice home. Keep the couch there. Sorry, repeat again the thing. Repeat again. Sorry, I got distracted by that.
Yes, like a cup or something that you can easily go out and buy.
A cup you can buy again. So how important is it? Yes.
But if it's giving away or letting go of something bigger.
Letting go of something bigger.
You know, something that you made yourself or something that can't be replaced.
Something that can't be replaced. An heirloom.
That's where that real sense of freedom of being able to let that go.
Mm.
It's relief, isn't it?
Yes.
Like a relief. Oh my God, that's gone.
Yes.
What, the cup?
Yeah, or when you're letting go.
When you let go of something, it's like when you actually let go, it's like you've taken the burden off your shoulders. It's just like, ah. Yeah.
Are we all having new words?
Yeah.
Is it this, is it that, is it?
Yes.
It's lots and lots and lots of words, but when we actually find this emptiness, oh, what a relief.
What a relief. Phew. Okay, so yeah, I'm with you on that, Carolyn, because I remember, I mean, I knew nothing about any of this at all, but I just remember this interaction and it stayed with me ever since. So that's quite powerful because I keep reminding myself and keep telling people, which is good too, I was helping this guy who was running the Feldenkrais training that I did. So we're talking in the 80s, right? It's a bit scary to say in the 80s when it feels like just yesterday. You realize it's not. Anyway, and so I was helping him. He was the trainer. And he came up to me and he wanted something from me, right? And he wanted me to do something. And I could see my mind going, yeah, Frank, what do you want? And I went, it's a ridiculous thought to have, but that was the thought arising. And then when I recognized that thought was not healthy and that actually I was here to be of service to him, I just dropped it. And in that dropping, it was exactly that. It was a sense of bliss. I mean, it wasn't like far out, but I was like, stopped in my tracks. Wow. Isn't that amazing? And I thought, that is the freedom, that is the liberation. Because the realization of emptiness is liberation from samsara. It's liberation from all of this. I mean, it's more profound than that moment. It's very soon. Okay. So like that. Okay, so tremendous joy when suddenly you don't just drop one thing, you drop everything. So you magnify that idea a gazillion times. I mean, already it's said by the mere, I wouldn't say it's mere at all, the attainment of wisdom, attainment of shamatha, you know, that when you reach that, even along the way, but by the time you've attained shamatha, there's an experience of physical and mental bliss. It's like your body becomes incredibly light. And they depict it as this monk, the meditator, flying in the sky because you're not feeling the heaviness of the body. It's incredible, like, what is his name? Milan Kundera? I'm not quite sure. It's quite like him, but in unbearable lightness of being, you know. I always think about the name of that book and I use it for this. I did read that book. If I read it again, I might get disappointed because I think it's completely not this. But that sense of lightness, of spaciousness, the mind, when we drop things, it's incredibly spacious. Because the things that we've been holding on to that have scrunched the mind, and you just like, drop it, let it go. Even teeny tiny baby steps of let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. All of this chips away, creates a space in the mind. Yeah? We've had some experience of that, some. So you can sort of know you're on the right track along the way. And we're all now having a collective sigh of relief, I know.
Yes.
Okay. And then the other experience is great fear because I'm disappearing. I am literally disappearing, going into non-existence. So there comes great fear. This is a good, I mean, it's good. It's good, it means you're making progress. So fear is not to be feared in this instant. We recognize that it's a fear of losing the self which never existed in the first place. It never existed. That's what we're losing. And sometimes, like, again, if I refer back to the Feldenkrais, when I was training in Feldenkrais, because I don't know if anyone's familiar with Feldenkrais, but a little bit. So it's like a method of training for the body and mind. Oh, well, actually, it's a method of training, which, you know, I always think it sort of started me with the body and then you go towards the mind. Of looking at the physical limitations that we might experience and then looking at alternate ways. So Feldenkrais was a physicist originally, right? And then he applied physics to his own body when he had indeed a knee injury and ended up in a hospital in London and didn't want to have an operation. So he worked out that he could use the physics applied to the body to, and with a, you know, he said a healthy brain would choose a healthy option. We would say mind would choose a healthy option, but maybe the brain as well. Different alternative ways of movement, different ways to engage the body. And so he always said you need to have at least 3 different alternatives. So for example, I had a point where I was, well, I don't know at which point you're officially frozen shoulder, but I couldn't lift my arm beyond there. So I think that's pretty frozen, isn't it? Anyway, so then driving, I'd have to use my hips like that rather than this. you know, rather than this or whatever. So different ways of movement. But then there came a point where the practitioner who was working with me, I lost, my shoulder became relaxed to the point where there was the sensation of that I had a sense that my shoulder had disappeared because it relaxed so much. And then the mind goes, oh, no. And, you know, it's sort of like, it made me realize how much physical tension I need in my body to know I exist, which is ridiculous, but it was true, right? So it's that sort of fear. You feel like the self dissolving and you sort of, you know, where am I? Am I here? Am I real? Venerable one way.
And I just get really relaxed, and then I get this feeling that I'm actually going to fall off the bed, but I'm not. But it's just, you just relax, or you fall through the bed or something.
You relax and you feel like you're free falling.
Yeah.
Free falling, yeah. But is that a freaky experience?
Well, it wakes me up.
It wakes you up because you're like, oh, can't be doing that. Carolyn. Oh yeah, I've been in a float tank.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so we can have those. So it's like that. Am I still here? So it's that sort of fear of I'm disappearing. In fact, you are disappearing, but what is disappearing is not the conventional you. It's not, your body was still there in the float tank. My body was still there on the table being worked on. What was disappearing was the conception of myself. So this is, and gee, I wish I could experience that again. With a bit of the Dharma knowledge now and go, oh, isn't that interesting? That's what the Dharma says. Anyway, we just keep chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. Identify the relationship between our ignorant grasping at self or objects and our suffering. So this is a tricky one, isn't it? How we see that ignorance, grasping at this self, causes our suffering. I mean, the Buddha said, great, the Buddha said, but how do I see that manifesting in my life?
It's because you're not reacting to what's happening, you're reacting to your story you put on it.
So you're not reacting to the actual reality of what's going on, but your story in relation to that. So we've just had a gentleman here who may come back again. And, you know, I noted a certain tension arising. Are we safe? Are we okay? You know, is he okay? And
Just waiting for him to...
is he okay? Are we okay? Those sort of thoughts arise, isn't it? And we can say all of that, there's a certain wisdom of experience, don't get me wrong. But how much are we also imputing with our minds? Of course, we need our wisdom wing. We don't chuck it out altogether. That's how we develop this. But how much of that suffering is caused by my elaboration, right? Of any point in time, my elaboration. So somebody sends you an email, you react. And people do it on Facebook all the time, or whatever, social media all the time, kaboom, straight back at you. But if we take a step back and think, like Sally said earlier, I think, where is the harm in that? Or was it Eva? Where is Eva, sorry. Where is the sound of the voice? Or where is the harm of these, not even words on a page, there's not even anything physical, right?
It's just light.
It's just light, shapes and light. But do we react to shapes and light? No, you hurt me. Ka-dum, I'll hurt back. So we observe these things. It's very challenging, isn't it? Very challenging. Because there's still that bit that wants to go, yeah, but they did. They meant it. And they may have. But are you only just causing yourself more hurt by retaliating or wanting to retaliate? So this is what we have to interrogate, right? So how we, or the other side, desire. I don't know why I don't desire a microphone. I desire flowers. I like flowers. And I like that because they're thoughtfully picked by Venerable Yangshan. And they're pretty mauve, is it? Lavender, mauve, and white. Just near my place. My place. She picked them just near my place. They're extra special now. Come from the nun's garden.
The white flowers are from just near Wongmo's.
The white one's just near Wongmo's place. So she carefully went around and picked all of these. So there's a attachment to those from the very thoughtfulness. So they went over Duodundra. Duodundra. Now I can say, and just squash them up. I can't even do it, you see, because I can't bear the thought of destroying the beauty of the flowers. See?
Just flowers.
They're just flowers, and there's more there. Yeah, I know it's not a sentient being, but boy, oh boy. Okay, so we just interrogate. I'm still not going to do it, right? So inquire into how this independent I or thing exists and function in relation to its causes, conditions, and parts and designation. This is what we've been talking about the whole time. Have we been deceived? Does my mind cheat me?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sorry, it really does all the time.
Example.
Like I suffer from anxiety, and all that is
Anxiety
a thought.
Is a thought. It's a mere
not
thought.
anything other than that.
And we get scared of our thoughts, which are what? Nothing substantial, right? They're not matter. It's a bit of energy that if we allow the thought and to arise in our mind and allow it to fade away, thoughts will come and go. Thoughts do come and go. That's what happens. But it's my grasping at with desire or pushing away with aversion. Go away, don't like you thought. That is what causes our suffering. That is the elaboration. All of it, absolutely all of it. And as Carolyn said, you let go of that and wow, feels great, doesn't it? Feels great. Leonie.
Just made me think of when we were at Copan last year, Venerable Rabina, you know how she waves her arms around her place. She had a cup, and I was down the front, and she missed the cup so many times. We could all see this cup was going to go flying, and eventually it did. And I suppose she did not miss a beat in her teaching. We were all sitting there anxious, knowing this cup, like thinking this cup was going to go, and she accidentally knocked it. It wasn't it was a thermos, but it had no lid on it, so it just water went everywhere. And lots of people came up and cleaned up, and she did not miss a beat in her teaching. It just, because she had no connection to this cup flying, and it was actually quite profound. Because we were worried, and she did it later as well with the computer. It kept really falling off her lap, and I spent the whole lesson going to go and rescue this computer, and she saw me one time, and you know what she did? She purposely made it look like it was going to fly down. She said, "There you are, Leanne," and I was like, "Okay, I'll stop looking at the computer." But she just didn't have a sense of. She didn't have these, these things were happening around her. She didn't have that sense of whatever was, but we all did. We were all anxious about the cup.
So everyone was anxious about the cup. Venerable Rabina was teaching, the cup went flying. Yeah. They're all mopping up and she doesn't miss a beat and keeps teaching because she was not concerned about the cup at all.
She had no story attached to this cup.
No story attached to the cup.
Yeah. So it was a really interesting teaching to watch that.
I would ask, was she not concerned about the cup, or was she thoroughly aware of what was going on?
But she probably
was going on in other people's minds.
Yes, she was sitting there and she missed it.
It was an actual teaching, yeah. It's the actual teaching, of course.
Same with the computer, but she could see I was like desperate to stop the computer from smashing to the ground because it kept, the way the legs were was going to fall. It didn't. But then she, but it was really interesting because, for me, it was that anxiety of thinking something's going to happen, creating a story, and then being distracted by that story.
Like us, 5 minutes and
Still being distracted. Do we want to take a break now?
maybe we should.
Maybe we should take a break because, I mean, we've been going an hour and a half. So I think we'll take a break. So we'll stop the recording now and start it again. Do we need to do that?
We're just on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, we're on YouTube now, so we don't need that. We'll just take a break. So let's not take too long a break. Is 20 minutes okay to about 20 past? Doesn't give it a huge amount of time. 15 minutes? Okay, that'll be great. A quarter past. So it's 17 minutes, according to this one.
Oh, I sat there the whole time.
Gary says it's a great omen.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. Yeah, oh, that's great.
It was fading.
Do you have Andrea's, because that would be lovely for Facebook.
Do we want to just make sure you're okay with
Okay, welcome back, everyone. So, final countdown. So I told you we'd get there in the end. Well, we haven't got there yet, so I better keep going. So by now, maybe we've stretched the poor old noggin beyond. So familiarizing the mind with emptiness. So I think just discussing this a bit in the break, intellectually we understand things are not as they seem, but do we truly see the illusory nature of all things? Absolutely not. I'm not a bodhisattva on the 7th, 8th, 9th ground. Absolutely not, right? We will still find it hard to uproot our deep-seated habitual tendency of self-grasping or grasshopping, as Lama Lundrup would say. Grasshoping, something like that, grasshoping. Actually, the other one was not Lama Lundrup, that the story goes, I wasn't there at the time, but many people repeat this story that, you know, Lama giving the teaching about dependent arising and talking about dependent arising and talking about dependent arising, at the end of the teaching, someone says, what is it with Tibetan rice? Like, why you keep talking about Tibetan rice? It's, yes, folks, that time on a Sunday afternoon. So for this, because it does require so much, as we said earlier, accumulation of merit to even, for Carolyn to say, but it feels familiar, this way of thinking. This way of thinking is not conventional in the world. I don't think you picked it up in your family, Carolyn, right? Am I right? I think so, right? So there's an accumulation of virtue, of merit for this precious human rebirth, which, you know, from past lives, we worked hard to get to this point. And then we have to, if we want to progress further, which we do, because we're still here on a Sunday afternoon, wanting to understand more. How do I take the next step? As Yasmin said, what do I practice now? What do I practice now? What do I practice now? Baby, 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 bodhisattva steps, baby Manjushri steps, little baby Manjushris. Right. So to counteract this habitual tendency at self-grasping, but it is innate. It's innate. We're born with it. Now, when I was at school, I'm pretty sure, as a, you know, sort of junior school, that it was like anything that was innate you can't get rid of. Fortunately, the Buddha had other ideas, thankfully. So it's innate, but we can eventually be free of it. Just means it's so deep-seated, it's like the core of us. But we can see, as we saw last time in the last module, about self-cherishing, that we can get. We can get to reduce the self-cherishing, can't we? Right? So that's a step in the right direction. Okay, so empowering the mind through accumulating merit. How do we do that? Accumulate merit. Stainless prayers. And Graham? Tonglen practice. Practice of the 6 perfections. Practice generosity. Rejoicing. Easiest way, Sally. I like it, Sally says. Like easy, the easiest. Not rejoicing even in just your own merits or your own virtues, past, present, and future, but those of all other beings, or ordinary other beings, all our Dhamma brothers, sister friends, all those more advanced beings, or the ordinary bodhisattvas, and then the Arya bodhisattvas, those on 7, 8, 9 grounds, all the Buddhas, which is infinite merit. It's always like, go for the top. all our gurus or our teachers, and rejoicing that we even met those teachings and that they made the teachings accessible to us, we can just elaborate, keep going, keep going. In that in itself, you're amassing huge amount of merits. So practicing all of the perfections, of which this is the ultimate, well, then there's a presentation on the 10 perfections. Did I say? But let's stick with the 6. But up to exalted wisdom, which is number 10. Anyway, so gradually, more and more. You know, it's just like we think of all the sentient beings, so many beings, so little time. Got to help them all. You know, having a mind of, having that in our mind and what we are able to do. So increasing our capacity to do things. That's the power to do things. But even then, the accumulation of, as we're engaging in these practices, that every motivation, so stained as prayers, or the motivation, every moment, or at least when we get up in the morning, remember to do that. May whatever I think, do and say today benefit others. And then we remind ourselves throughout the day. And then more levels of vows and holding those vows, you know, the bodhisattva vows. Let's just stick there, the bodhisattva vows, and then holding those, familiarizing with those and saying, how can I enhance engaging in those practices? So there's many different ways. And then you have your things like your mandala offerings, the offerings on the altar, making offerings, offering the Dharma, supporting the Dharma. So it's another way of offering the Dharma, right? In whatever way we can.
I was just thinking of the, you know, that feeling that you've heard this, or the familiarity.
The familiarity,
and,
yes.
You know, I was thinking of our friend who slept through, you know, 10 minutes or whatever of your teaching then. But yeah, he felt safe here. But at some point, he'll hear that teaching again.
Yes.
And maybe it will be, there'll be some, and that he could even hear it again in this life, but you know, or another life.
Yeah.
And there'll be that sense of familiarity. Even though,
So that even though this gentleman came in and slept, then he may have or may not have heard something. He would have at least seen the holy images in his eyes at to whatever extent he could actually perceive them, because it was a little bit not fully present. But to whatever extent, and the fact that you come to a Dharma center as a place of refuge, for whatever reason you come as your place of refuge, all of these are the result of accumulation of merit. And all of us have been that gentleman in past lives, or this life. In fact, some of our precious, dare I say, teachers who met the lamas in the late 60s, early 70s, got there because they were sort of hippie tripping around. Well, they say, you know. They do say that. Have you read Leaf in the Wind? Absolutely, we don't know people's qualities and who they are. We absolutely don't know that. But you think of, out of all the choices of where you could go in the Sunshine Coast to seek refuge, and I don't know what all your choices are, but you know, to choose a Dharma center as opposed to the pub.
We're not easy to get to.
We're not easy to get to. We're not easy to get to. So, you know, we've got to acknowledge every accumulation of merit of ourselves and others. Acknowledge doesn't mean you understand it all, right? But just know it exists. That the very fact that we have this precious human rebirth, not even just being born human, but being born human, with all the conditions coming together for us to engage with the Dharma in this lifetime, continue to pursue that, and then you get to the top of the pile of wanting to put it into practice, you're up here already, you know, the tip of the, what is it, triangle. Up here. You know, out of all the beings in the world, out of all the human beings in the world, out of all those engaging in any spiritual practice, meeting any, those engaging in the Dharma or getting the teachings. and those who put those teachings into practice and those who transform them. So, you know, way to go. Let alone talking about emptiness. I mean, wow. All right. So the Buddha said, you've got to continue to accumulate these conducive conditions. So empowering the mind, it gives power to the mind by accumulating more merit. Even you have the merit to go to the retreat place, then you've got to have a merit to actually start the retreat, continue on in the retreat, remain healthy enough in the retreat, remain stable enough in your mind for the retreat. There's a lot of conditions that come along. You know, apart from the conventional ones of not having too many wants and needs and being satisfied with what you've got and so forth and so forth. Having met the teacher, just the merit of that. You know, we've made, like we do now, you know, stainless prayers in past lives. May I, you know, in all future lifetimes, continue to meet with precious Mahayana virtuous friends and, you know, follow in the path, having met Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings. Not only that, to be in a center where you've got a geshe who's like, seems to, like Lama Tsongkhapa, he breathes Lama Tsongkhapa, isn't it? Everything, Lama Tsongkhapa, Lama Tsongkhapa, Lama Tsongkhapa. I mean, it is, right? So there, right, okay. So we've got all that merit. Purifying negativity, so eliminating the afflictions of the mind. So while we want to cut away at this root ignorance, nonetheless, we keep chipping away at all our other deluded states of minds that cause us aggro. And recognize, yep, I've really stuffed up big time in the past. You know, taking stock each day. Yep, today I had those thoughts, I had those actions, I had that unskillful speech and whatever. Do our Vajrasattva practice or purification practice. Purify, purify, purify. Eliminate whatever we can. And with a powerful mind, not just I'm doing this for myself, I'm doing this to benefit other beings. So then my mind's more powerful in the practice because it's with a mind of bodhicitta, the mind of great altruism, compassion, loving concern for others. So maximize. And developing, as we said earlier, the calm abiding, shine shamatha, that actually it brings all our energies, so pacifying distractions to wrong objects brings all your energies and powerfully concentrates it like a laser beam, right, on your object of meditation. It's an incredibly powerful mind. So cultivating that powerful mind, and then, you know, as I said, the first part of this volume, which is called Special Insight, you know, chapter, they say, but it's many chapters. So like that, the first 100 or so pages is about cultivating shamatha and how to do that, you know. So that, or, you know, other texts elaborating, other Lamrim texts elaborating. So, I mean, Lama Tsongkhapa is pretty much the go-to, isn't he? So it goes to the source, to the authentic teachings, and gives all the fine-tuning details of how to cultivate along those. And of course, to be, you know, we develop as much as we can. And those of us who don't have the karma yet, or don't have the merit yet, whatever it takes, to be in full-time retreat, to actually attain calm abiding in this lifetime, you know, we can rejoice that Venerable Sundar is down there in Kangaroo Island, absolutely determined. I think it's year 3 now. Who knows what she's practicing? But it was interesting to hear her say, you know, how hard it is, you know, that it's not like you go, oh, that's cool, got that one, what's next, you know? It may be possible, but because we've got to overcome all the afflictions of the mind, we have to purify so much. In fact, when one does a longer retreat, you know, say you're doing a 3-year retreat or something like that, and they say the first part of that is doing all these nyondro, all these preliminary practices to purify and accumulate all the merit, all the conditions for you to be able to continue on in your retreat. So you do your 100,000 of Vajrasattva and prostrations and mandala offerings and Dorje Kadros or whatever practices to be able to, that's why they're called preliminary practices, because they're preliminary to your main practice. Say your main practice is going to be a shamatha on emptiness, you know, realizing, well, you need the analytical as well, but then eventually, you know, you want to get there. But
and is that why some of the non-dual practices are part of this course as well?
why they're part of this course is Lama's opposite. But it makes logical sense.
It does to me.
And that you're doing those to, we could say in that context, and I'm not Lama Zopa Rinpoche, but one of the aspects of that would be to even contemplate doing these retreats, you need to have a lot more study, right? You need to have study, as His Holiness says, study. And we are in an institute of study. You notice that the Lamas called them all institutes, place of study, place of learning, so that we cultivate the wisdom of hearing the instruction, hearing the teachings, until such point, and then reflecting on that, which we do through our discussion, but reflecting on it at a deeper level, reading about it, as Geshe-la was saying the other day, you know, reading hundreds of times, you know. It's not like, oh yeah, I've read that, what's next? All right, read it again and again. You know, one of my friends was at Lama Tsongkhapa Institute, finished the master's program. Rinpoche said, go back and do it again. The master's program is what? 5 years. And then the retreat that comes on top of that, right? Go back and do it again. I mean, how wonderful. It would be music to my ears. I think. Except for the exams, right? We always get that. So we need so one doesn't ever launch into doing a massive retreat. We've got to have the basis of the foundation of the study. You know, people say, I want to do a retreat. What on? So what are we studying? What's all of this discovering Buddhism? Lam Rim, the whole of the path to enlightenment. And then, you know, and then developing calm abiding, you know, the capacity for, if we can develop that, just watch how our capacity to train things to retain things when we're in teachings is enhanced, because our concentration is there. I mean, if you're a teacher in the school, you want all your kids to attain shamatha in the first day of school. Doesn't happen, does it? It would be so great for our education system. It'd be so great for teachers. It'd make education so easy. And we'd have such intelligent, smart people. Okay. And cultivating the actual insight, which is all that we've been talking about, the correct view, reflecting, analyzing, reflecting, analyzing, reflecting, analyzing, to countless great eons later. It takes a long time, right? In the meantime, as we go about living our lives in this empty, selfless world, using whatever helpful ways we can to transform our mind and let go of our grasping. So we're having a conversation about this. How do I mean, we've been having quite a few conversations about this throughout this weekend, you know, recognizing the grasping, recognizing the self-cherishing, Now, am I really doing this for others? Perhaps not. It's not to beat ourselves up, it's to notice. Well, actually, there's always going to be some self-grasping there. It's never going to be, while we're in samsara, a pure motivation for others. But boy, I really want my motivation to be that pure, right? So we aspire to that. We cultivate the mind of that. We work towards that and chip away, chip away, chip away at all the obstacles that get in the way of that. And when we do feel like, oh, wow, this is a moment of pure thought, rest there, stay there as long as you possibly can. When it wanes, move on. So that we let it deepen more and more into our psyche in a way. I mean, we say psyche, there's another construct, right? But you know what I mean. Into the subtle levels of our mind is what we want, until we have that clarity, that spaciousness of mind that is as vast as space, infinite potential, so laser-like clarity that you know exactly what to do at any given moment. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Exactly what's the most beneficial thing to do. That would be brilliant. But meantime, we get better and better at it. I mean, Graham's already been saying how better and better he's got at it. We're impressed, Graham, because not only is it the words coming out of your mouth, but we see it. We see it. You don't have to tell us, we see it, right? Isn't it? Well, those of us who've been around Graham, what? 2 years? 2.5 years? Lucky us. And not just Graham.
Yes, others as well have been inspiring.
Others as well have been inspiring. Venerable. But that's what we mean. Okay, so the definition. So I want to go back to the 3 principal aspects of the path. We had the reason to meditate on the right view. Actually, I like the, funnily enough, the hymn of experience, which we were calling Song of Experience. And see, this is the thing. In English, we keep changing the words. We're on page 258, Lamrim Nyam Gyur. So this is like a middling Lamrim, slightly longer than the glance meditation, a foundation of all good qualities, going over the, stage of the path to enlightenment. This was the one that Geshe-la taught on at the Lamrim retreat. Who was here at the beginning of the year?
I was here for bits of it.
Bits of it. You were here. You were here. Yeah. Essence of Refined Gold. So on this, which third Dalai Lama's commentary on this one. So if we turn to page 263, I think this says it all. This is a good summation of this whole area. Actually, I think I'll start there. I mean, you go back and you go, oh, I like that verse too, and that one, and that one, and that one. They're all good. Okay, we'll go. Concentration. So I've gone back to bottom of page 263 because we were talking about the union of that calm abiding and special insight. So concentration, perfection of concentration, is a king ruling the mind. When placed, it is as immovable as Mount Meru. When sent forth, it engages all virtuous objects. So placed is like when we're sitting on the cushion. Sent forth is when we're out there and about. It induces the great bliss of a serviceable body and mind. It's so much to look forward to. I look forward to mental and physical bliss. Serviceable, I look forward to a serviceable body. Because we're having jokes around here, not only the perishing aggregates, but the perished. The body. Some of us. Feels that way. Okay. I'll try and do it without commentary. Having understood this, the lords of the yogis rely continuously on the meditative stabilization that destroys the enemy distraction. You, the perfect guru, practice in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. Wisdom is an I, seeing profound thusness. So thusness is emptiness, selflessness is another word for that. Thusness is the way things are. They are thus. The path eradicating the root of existence, a treasury of qualities praised in all the scriptures and renowned as the supreme of lamps, dispelling the darkness of ignorance. Having understood this, the wise who desire liberation generate the path with much effort. Slight pause. You, the perfect guru, practice in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. One-pointed concentration alone is not considered to be able to cut the roots of samsara. Wisdom, separated from the path of calm abiding, will not avert the afflictions, no matter how much you analyze. In other words, it doesn't sink in. Having mounted the wisdom that reflects on the real mode of existence upon the horse of steadfast, calm abiding, with the sharp weapon of the logic of the middle way, free of extremes, destroy all mental fabrications grasping at extremes. With vast wisdom analyzing in this way, increase the wisdom that realizes thusness. You, the perfect guru, practice in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. The meditative stabilization achieved by one-pointed meditation is not enough. With the individual investigation of proper analysis, generate the meditative stabilization that abides firm and immovable on the mode of existence, which is the wisdom realizing emptiness. Having seen this, understand how wonderful are those who endeavor to accomplish the union of calm abiding and special insight. You, the perfect guru, practice in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. In meditative equipoise, emptiness is like space. Space like emptiness. Oh, we haven't got on to the 16 emptinesses. Oopsie doopsie. No, that'll come next time. In post-meditation, emptiness is like an illusion. So post-meditation is when we're up and about and engaging. It's a dream, it's a hallucination, it's an illusion, it's a fabrication, whereby the perfect conduct of the conqueror's children is bodhisattvas, is praised. Having realized this, the tradition of those of good fortune is not satisfied by either path alone. You, the perfect guru, practice in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. So that's it. That's what to do. Okay. Clear? A few raised eyebrows. So that's in summary. So taking such virtues as those, we can recite and reflect over and over again until it has some meaning for us. And then when we're confused, we discuss, we debate, we try and get to the meaning of it. That meaning for you will change over time, but it gives you the instruction right there, what to do.
Venerable Jyoti?
Yes.
Is that the reference that you've just given? Is that
yes.
in the notes?
No, it's not. It's in the FPMT retreat prayer book. It is in many places. It is Lama Tsongkhapa's Hymn of Experience or Songs of Experience. In the notes on the recommended readings, I didn't put Essence of Refined Gold, did I? But that will give you a lot more unpacking of it, the Essence of Refined Gold. This one. She's got it. I was going to go to the library. You got there. Essence of Refined Gold by the Third Dalai Lama. I love that commentary, just amazing. That's actually on the whole of the Lamrim. But just those verses, if you go onto fpmt.org and you put in song or songs of experience, lines of experience, hymn of experience, it's been translated into all those words, it should come up for you. I'll see if I can find a link and send it around. It should come up and you should be able to just get the PDF like that.
Thank you.
Venerable Wongmo's checking her phone right now. And that's it, folks. We've come to the end of the allocated time for now. Lots of homework. And so, as we said, next month, we'll do the meditations on that to try and, get some of this from up here down to here, get some of it sinking in, reflecting, meditating, going over and over, getting it, an experience of that, a taster of that. So that's coming up. And then remember what we said about letting Eva know about December, what you want to do there. And I think that's it. Anything else? Okay, I want to end with Lama Zopa Rinpoche always has us ending all our, prayers and practices with a verse relating to emptiness. And so it's a good way to end, isn't it, on this topic? Because even though we may not understand it all, it's already chipped away at our grasping at inherent existence without us even knowing. So we just keep going. I think that's wonderful. So page 323, if you have the prayer book, I'm going to mix it up a bit. Due to all the past, present and future merits collected by me and all the merits of the 3 times collected by numberless Buddhas and numberless sentient beings, which are completely empty of existing from their own side. So whatever understanding of that you have, dwell there. May the I, which is merely labeled by the mind, achieve the state of full enlightenment, which does not exist from its own side. And lead all sentient beings, which exist in mere name, to that state which is totally empty, by myself alone, which is a total hallucination. It's my favorite one, total hallucination. Okay, there you go. Lots of food for thought and for practice. Thank you very much. See you next month, if not before. And
Thank you very much. Thank you.
To have you all joining us here online. Ingrid, I hear you're coming in December, already booked in. Fantastic.
Yes.
Wow, wow, wow.
Thank you.
And yes, those thinking to come, do book in to the accommodation. As I said, there's more opening up, but it means, book in early. I've somehow wangled it that we've got priority.
After 2 years.
After 2 years. Okay. Cha, hello. Do you want to come up and say hello to all your Dharma buddies? Come on,
please come all up to
come all up. Come all up.
to the stage.
Come all up, social distancing. Around and about, behind. Because they've all been hanging out together all weekend. Hello, bye-bye.
Oh, wonderful to see you all.
Yeah, isn't it great? Sally's with us this time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ciao. Be safe, well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Someone do a screenshot. Can do a screenshot. Someone had to do
We're
a
talking
screenshot.
about doing screenshots. We don't have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, but then you'll be in the photo with the camera. She's going to try one. There she goes.
We're getting a screenshot to try and get everybody. See what works.
Right in the corner. And then we can have a shot where I prefer to be.
Can you take a photograph of the screen?
Yes. Oh, I don't want to be in front of people.
Just take the shot. People are going to go.
There we go. Nice.
Okay, nice.
Have a good trip home. Bye bye.
Bye.
Got a shine on it. Bye.